Mr. Ben, because he has some questions.
Well, see, I hear this very often from many people that I know, other than my dad, about with phones. Like, are you going to upgrade your phone? Are you going to upgrade your phone? My thought process is slowly dwindling and changing over the time of having the phone, because I've noticed there is no huge upgrades from one generation to another. It's always like 2 generations after usually something happens. Like, if I go from a Samsung Galaxy S6 to the Samsung Galaxy S9, there's a huge change. But from a 6 to a 7, there's not a big jump.
Yeah, you should have waited. You should have stayed with the 7. You should have stayed with the 7 and went to the 9.
Yeah, I went to 7 to 8, and then there's not a huge jump. And what I'm reading on this, a lot of articles, this is one of them. It's like people are talking about the upgrading their phone. Like, what makes you upgrade your phone? That's a question I have for everyone in the feed. What makes you want to upgrade? Was it the price? Is it the hardware? And if it's both, would you do it now?
Okay. So, Bazinga, you want to go?
Well, for me, yes, of course, the hardware. Like, I want it to be better than the phone I currently have by a decent amount. You know, I'm not going to get the same phone. That's why, like, when I was looking for this phone, I had a Galaxy Note 3, and that was just last year. So that was an old-ass phone to begin with.
Yeah.
But I wanted a phone with at least a 2K screen, like at least 4 gigs of RAM, with a good processor and everything, with some storage space. And that's what I found this one. I wanted a OnePlus, but they kept sticking to the 1080p. And I'm like, no, I want the better screen. So I waited and got this. However, when it comes to hardware, that's great, but it's also going to be affordable, because I don't want to pay $1,000 for a phone.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, maybe someday I will. Red phone, I'm looking at you. But that's only for if it's got the options that they're rumored to have.
Yes.
Because if I could use a phone as a mirrorless DSLR camera or something like that, okay.
Yeah. And for me, it really comes down to obviously hardware and price. Now, years ago, there was a phone that really changed my perspective and really set the bar for me for a dollar amount per processing power that I'm willing to pay. And that was OnePlus. Their first phone came out. It was just over $300 for the first people that got a hold of it. I wasn't one of the first people, but I did get it a little later on, like a few months later. And it had all the current hardware that was going into the flagship phones at the time at literally a third of the price. And they even showed you what they were paying per the parts and everything, to show you that it didn't take what it took a lot, like Samsung and Apple and some of these other big names, are what they're charging you for your phone, how much profit they're actually making off you compared to what they could actually sell them for. So that really set the bar for me. And since then, I will not spend over $350 for a phone, because I know the hardware is not costing them that much. The only thing that's costing people right now that's actually even somewhat expensive for some of these companies to get is 4K screens, 2K screens, OLED screens. Some of them are expensive, yes. That's the only hardware that is actually fairly expensive. But a lot of the processors and the RAM chips and stuff like that are like dirt cheap. And they aren't costing what they're trying to make them out to seem. 4 gigs of RAM was expensive. It's really cheap now. 6 gigs of RAM is coming down for that. What do you call it? That chip for phones. Those are really coming down in price. So the fact that Samsung and all these other places are charging you $1,000 for a phone is absolutely ridiculous. And right now they keep on using that same hardware, but now they're getting you with the bezel-less phone. They're like, oh, it's going to be $100. No, you still have that same hardware you had from last year, and you're reusing it. And you're gimmicking people off of the no bezel like myself. Like, if I had money to burn, I probably would buy one, because I really want a no bezel-less phone. But I'm going to wait till a seller like OnePlus, like a competitor just like them, comes out with a bezel-less phone.
And we almost had one with the Essential phone.
Yeah, we almost had one. Comes out with a bezel-less phone that's lower than everything on the market and better hardware. That's the phone I will get.
Well, here's the deal with your screen thing. They're going down in price too, because Sony has their 4K screen on their phone. It was what, $349?
Yeah.
They probably made it though.
Maybe, but it had huge bezels on the top and bottom.
Yeah,
though.
but the way they're getting it though is like if like someone buys their screen from Samsung or something,
Yep.
Samsung jacks up the price on them to get them to buy it, even though the screen actually didn't cost that much to make. If Sony actually made that screen, that's going to save them a lot of money.
See, my whole issue with the whole, I know your thought process on the price about no more than $350, but it's going to come in time in my book where phones are going to be more than $350 no matter how far you look into it, because Sony phones we got there is like with almost $400 up there. It's
well, I don't know about that because we never had phones that cheap before, and now we do.
Yeah, because there was a company, OnePlus, that broke the bar and showed you can sell phones as cheap and make a profit. Because the hardware does not cost that much.
Yeah.
Like just your processor alone, your phone, which is like a Qualcomm or processor that probably cost them maybe $40 to buy, maybe. And then they go and sell that phone to you and make a 1,200% profit on just that part alone, and it's ridiculous.
See, my whole thought, like I said, with my whole phone now, like I said, I had this Galaxy S8 Plus. All right, it's still a good phone, but the Galaxy S9 still hasn't really drawn me in, because the only thing different in my book is the fact that it has a better camera on the back. Obviously, it has good f-stop on it. But the only thing about it, though, it has a couple of software additions.
Which your phone will eventually get anyway.
Yeah, eventually. And it's like I said, I'm to the point now where I'm seeing kind of like the light in the tunnel. Like, well, I should really wait till at least one more generation. Or, if anything, by then, this phone will be prepaid. Like, I can transfer this to prepaid, and then I can go off and say, listen, I have a prepaid phone, I pay $60 a month. I can either get another phone, or I can just get a unlocked phone.
Well, with that, once you're paid off, you can still stay on the thing. It's just going to be $30 less than you're paying now.
Yeah.
And it will be unlocked, because once you pay it off, you can say, hey, unlock this phone.
Yeah, and it's just, I just find it somewhat silly, like I said, phone companies. If you can, and I know they're just trying to do the life cycle situation. Like I'm looking, like, for instance, iPhone. iPhone has what, like a 2-year life cycle almost.
Around that.
Around, yeah. Every time you get an iPhone, you have to buy the next one. You have to buy the next one. I used to be. I'm trying to stay out of it now. I'm gonna say used to be, but I'm still there a little bit. All right, I'm at the point now where I want to have the latest and greatest. Like when as soon as you come in, it's like, oh yeah, well I had the S9 Plus. Look at that. I don't want that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. So what I want to do is I want to try to test myself and test my endurance and strength, not to upgrade this phone.
Yeah.
Because if
do it.
There's really no okay. In all reality, what would you really get out of an S9? There's nothing coming out, and a majority of developers are not programming for the S9. They're programming for the previous model because that's what the majority of people have.
The only thing I'm gaining out of the S9 from the S8 is the fact that the camera is a dual camera, all right, and then it has a fingerprint sensor moved and a software update. There's software features on it that aren't on the S8 Plus right now.
Okay, and I can tell you, mine, not the phone I have in my pocket right now, my other phone, which I have to replace the screen, has a fingerprint reader, has dual cameras, and it was $170. And it's 4 gigs of RAM. What do you call it? It has the Snapdragon processor, not the current one, the last gen.
And it's decent on the modding community, right?
Yeah, and it's decent on the modding community. So it comes close to competing. It just doesn't have as nice of a screen. And that's the only thing. And it was like $160. But that's also because I got a late deal on Amazon.
Sony phone we saw at Best Buy, like the bezel was disgusting, but the phone itself was beautiful. How big it was,
24 megapixel camera.
Yeah, it's a large megapixel, which we're not going to use a 24 megapixel camera. You don't need 24, but just to say I have a 24 on a phone, it's to say something in my book.
Like I said, I'm waiting to see what the Red phone has to say. We're still waiting to hear what actually is going on. Because we go to a lot of places, do a lot of filming, and it'd be great to cut it down.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, though, with the Red, we know the history of Red, the company. They make $40,000 cameras, but they make insanely good hardware. Like, they are known for their quality. Everything's handmade. Like, it's precision built, quality checked up the wazoo. Like, you're getting a product that's going to last you a long time. And you're paying for what you're getting with that.
Well, mark the day, guys. Mark the calendar on this day. Okay, at let's see, March 14th, 8/19. I'm trying to stop myself from upgrading.
Okay, make a meme out of that, everybody.
Yeah.
Just